Hey, I'm Sven Masterson, and I show men how to transform stuck, dying, broken, and painful marriages into deeply connected, passionate, and thriving marriages. And in my talk with men around the world about their marriage difficulties, a common question that comes up for men is, did I make the wrong decision? Have I chosen the right partner? Oftentimes these men are noticing what they believe are some red flags, maybe from their wife's history or past, and they're starting to wonder if everything isn't adding up to pointing to one conclusion, and that is the conclusion that they didn't choose the right partner. I'm going to talk to you in this video about how to understand this particular moment and story, how to understand these thoughts and feelings, and how to have a pretty objective view of whether or not you have chosen the wrong person. Now, one common thing about my videos is that married people watch them, divorced people watch them, separated people watch them, and we all have a tendency to project our story into the videos we watch. And just to be blunt, I'm not talking to every single marriage on planet Earth. There are plenty of marriages that are just really horrible marriages. They're not men in just pain where the marriage started well. They're falling apart for different reasons. A lot of marriages, for example, that start from infidelity, end from infidelity. A lot of marriages exist for really kind of no quality reason. And so if you're watching this video, I want you to just ease up a little bit. Watch it, learn from it, but realize I may not be talking to you and your situation. A lot of the comments that fill our videos in Mentoring Men tend to be from people with the yeah buts. And they're angry men, they're hurt men, they're men that maybe have been deeply betrayed, cheated on, maybe somebody who took all of their assets, all kinds of stuff. I'm not necessarily talking to you in this video. I'm talking to a man who's in what I would call the disillusionment stage of his relationship. He's gone through the romantic attraction stage, he's had his honeymoon stage, but things have just been slowly kind of just getting worse. He's feeling disconnected and unhappy. Things are not going smoothly. He's not enjoying the marriage. This is not a man whose wife is having 10 affairs. I'm not talking to men like that in this video. So please don't weigh my words as though I'm talking to every marriage. I'm talking specifically to a man in a long-term committed relationship that started out well, but lately has not been going well, and it's causing him to question if he didn't choose the right person. Okay, if that's you, I want to help you to navigate this space. I want to help you to understand a little bit more about what goes on in marriage and why we get to this point, and then how to navigate it with some clarity, because really clarity around this subject is desperately needed to avoid making a foolish decision like ending a marriage that doesn't need to be ended. Now, most of the people that will reach out to me and that will actually get to know them and talk to them and get some mentoring going in this particular situation will find that they don't have the wrong partner. They have some ineffective understanding for creating the life that they want with that partner. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, is how to know the difference between choosing the wrong partner and just not knowing how to be the right partner. Now, let's understand kind of the big picture of the landscape, right? You get married, things are going pretty well. You have that attraction and infatuation stage. It feels really good in your body. You love being with the person. Then you have your honeymoon stage, and it kind of cools off a little bit. And then before long, at some point, you have a growing sense of dissatisfaction and disillusionment in marriage. This is usually like what some people call the third stage of marriage, the disillusionment stage. Some people call it the power struggle stage. It's a stage in marriage where you're not very happy and your partner's probably not very happy either. And it's usually at this point, at least for guys that I'm talking to in this video, that you're asking yourself this question, right? There might be a tremendous lack of feeling connected, a tremendous lack of intimacy. You might feel like your partner is interested in everything but you. They might have told you that they want space. They might have told you they don't have feelings for you anymore. They might tell you, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. They could have had an emotional or physical affair. It could be a lot of things going on. But it's at this stage of marriage where you're having this question. Now, how did you get here? Why are you here? Well, we enter the disillusionment stage because we all enter marriage, men and women, with an idealized version of what our partners will be like. And slowly, as we go through the relationship, we're subconsciously weighing the behaviors and actions, faces, words of our partner against this idealized version. And the thing is, they can never measure up, right? And so if you're a married man with a wife, your wife has an idealized version of what she thinks you would or should look like. And you have an idealized version of what she should be like. These idealized versions are basically projections from all of our learning in a lifetime. This includes the books we read, the movies we watch, the things people tell us, our instruction from an education from schools, churches, synagogues, books, etc. And so that rom-com movie that your wife watches, that's part of it. The porn that you might watch if you're a man, that's part of it. And so we build these pretty unhealthy and unrealistic idealizations of what our partner would look like. Now, even worse, if you're a male, the idealized woman that you conjure up is from a specifically male point of view. That means it's not very well informed on what females are like. And that idealized man that your wife imagines that you ought to be, well, that too is a projection from a very female point of view. And so she expects things from you that are really atypical in men, that are outside of the realm of how men necessarily operate. And you want her behavior and things to be a certain way that are very male in nature. And so when you have these idealizations, you start comparing day in, day out. A common way, for example, this shows up in a heterosexual relationship between a man and a woman, is that men greatly misunderstand the way that females experience a sexual response. Because men are spontaneously aroused, for example, men usually can't understand why a woman doesn't have the same arousal cycle. And so men historically and quite often misunderstand the seemingly lackluster sexual response in a woman as disinterest, not realizing that she doesn't work the same way we do. And so if I haven't actually done the work or I hate to say the word work, but if I haven't actually taken the steps to create a sense of arousal and excitement and desire in my wife, and I just look at her face the moment I tickle her or touch her or something, as a man, the way most young men kind of experience this is, oh, she's not interested. And then a man will go up in his head, he'll start feeling his feelings and say, boy, she's never interested. And he'll lose his gumption and he'll feel a sense of sorrow that his wife is just not interested in. She's never interested. And what this man is not realizing in this moment, for example, is that he's just encountering the feminine sexual response, the typical response, which is, if I have not actually created the desire and excitement, she's not aroused yet. And so just because I might be aroused as a man very easily, well, a woman is not. But in our idealized versions, and this is something that's just really an area where pornography has really hurt men this way, because it's shown men an unrealistic response cycle, that men believe then that like every woman should just be like ready to throw down and go at it, like in porn, for example. And it's not real, it's fantasy. And it's feeding this sense, for example, within men that of this idealized version. And this is just one small picture. And I have these idealized concepts about our partner in the hundreds, and they about us. Just to give some fair exposure here, a lot of what a woman believes a man should be like comes from the media that they consume. And it might be a lot of rom-coms and romantic stories and videos that are largely written by other women and are also fantasy. And in those books, a man is just completely the masculine, but also has copious amounts of what might be a typical feminine attribute. Things like a deep sense of intuition, just a knowing of everything that's wrong, the perfect words to say in those moments, and how just to basically show up in a way that feels perfect. And ladies, this is kind of like similar for us to the porn thing might be for you. It kind of creates this fantasy level standard that we just can't meet out of the gate. Just like you can't meet the porn star characteristics out of the gate. And yet here we are. We're in marriage. We each have this kind of figment of our imagination of what our partner should be like. And we start to measure and judge our partner in the day-to-day stuff. And what ends up happening is every time we compare our partner with our idealized set of expectations, our partner comes up short. And we grow disillusioned. We grow disappointed. We start to write in a ledger of sorts in our insides the ways we're disappointed. Meanwhile, we're woefully misunderstanding one another. Woefully. And so we start to live in all kinds of stories about not being loved, not being valued, not being appreciated, not being respected, not being cherished, not being seen, not being fill in the blank. And what we're really experiencing in those moments is a lack of self. And yet we believe it's our partner. And so we start to live in stories in marriage that I have needs, intangible needs, and my partner is not creating them. They're not giving them to me. And so we have this life that we want. We have a relationship that we want. And we believe if our partner would just do the things that we imagine in our head, it all would be good. Our relationship would be great. And I keep telling them what I want and need, but they don't seem to hear me. Instead, they just seem to keep doing the same dysfunctional stuff. And so we start to believe that we have a partner problem. Folks, men particularly, what you're experiencing when you experience this is actually just straight up judgment and blame. The entire thing is sourced in comparing your real partner with your idealized partner. And really, until you can bury the idealized partner in your backyard, you really can't move forward in an effective way in a long-term relationship, and you can't move into the best stage of relationship, which is on the other side of this power struggle and disillusionment, which is the acceptance stage. The acceptance stage is this beautiful stage in a relationship where you have a deep, deep, deep sense of self-acceptance and a deep, deep, deep sense of acceptance and appreciation for your partner. But you can't just get there. It doesn't just happen. It happens specifically by addressing the very painful and difficult emotions that come up in this season of marriage, the season where you're just greatly disappointed. Now, that doesn't happen by stuffing and ignoring your disappointment. It doesn't happen by killing your desire and what you want. So when I say bury that fictitious partner in your backyard, I'm not saying to let go of everything that you want. I'm saying to realize that you're doing this judging thing, and when you judge your partner against this fantasy partner, they can't win. Your wife can't win against your harsh judgment of what she ought to be like, and you can't win in her judgment of you and what you ought to be like. And it's that mutual judgment, it's the mutual refusal to accept one another that lands us precisely in this most painful and challenging season of marriage. I spent a long time in this spot in marriage, a long time. I started to believe, to be completely transparent, even in the first year of my marriage, that maybe I'd made the wrong decision because I was pretty tuned in to my lack of happiness. I was pretty tuned in to not feeling very full, not feeling very good, not really feeling very connected. I didn't know then what I would come to discover after 20 years of marriage with on again, off again pain and disillusionment. And that was this. What I was really feeling was a lack of a full and complete sense of self and an acceptance for who that is. And that's the gift of this stage of marriage. What you're feeling is really a shortage in your regard for yourself. And because I have a shortage of regard for myself, I will look to my partner to fill in that deficit. And my partner, they're looking to me to fill in the deficit of their regard for self. And so you have two people coming into a relationship who are not whole, who don't feel whole, who don't deeply accept themselves, who don't deeply appreciate, respect, and love themselves. And suddenly they start vying for getting that from each other. And picture you're both starving to death and there's just one crumb of bread between you. You're going to compete for that. And that's exactly what happens in marriage. You start competing for who's going to have their needs met. A lot of people walk into a marriage counselor or therapist's office in this exact state. They kind of pour out all their insides, and then it becomes this game of trying to negotiate whose needs are going to be met, as if, well, we have to pick a winner. And the reality is, if two people are empty and not whole, you do have to pick a winner. And so there's usually somebody who feels like they lost in that encounter, or that they have to wait until next time. And so there's this kind of giving and taking, and a negotiation, like a contract that happens in a lot of marriage therapy and counseling. And you know what? We talk to people all the time who say, this isn't working for me. Now, we're not against marriage counseling. I'm not against marriage counseling. I'm not against marriage therapy. But if it doesn't address the deeper need, which is a lack of fullness at the individual level, it results in just a perpetual state of disillusionment with one another. And so when you start to believe, maybe I have married the wrong partner, the very first thing you need to do is to understand, am I judging my partner against these standards? What is it I think they should be doing that they're not doing that is leading me to believe maybe I made the wrong decision? Because once we get our mind set that maybe I made the wrong decision, our brains, because of the beauty of the construction of our brains and this beautiful thing called confirmation bias, will make us find more evidence for what we're thinking. So the moment I begin to believe I married the wrong partner, my brain will go out and find further evidence of that. This is oftentimes what men are identifying as red flags. They start to see the past through the lens of the present and conclude, yeah, come to think of it, she's always been like this. Then they look to the future through the lens of the present and say, I don't see how it could work. Next thing you know, you've talked yourself into, I need a new partner. And what you're really discovering, what you're really feeling is ultimately insecurity. You're feeling the lack of certain needs you have being met. Now, I like to call these intangible needs, just to distinguish them between needs like, let's say, shelter, hydration, food. Those we can measure. We can measure how much warmth a human being needs to survive. We can measure how many calories they need to survive and flourish. We can measure how much hydration you need to stay alive and healthy. But when it comes to intangible needs, they're not things we can stick in and weigh on a scale in a bowl. We can't pull out a tape measure and see if we have enough. These would be things like a sense of acceptance, approval, appreciation, a sense of being valued, of being valid, of being significant, of being worthy, of being loved. These are the intangible needs. Now, I'm saying needs because I believe they really are needs. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they're on there, but they're near the top in that pyramid. But yet they're intangible in a sense that when we observe people, we can't say, oh, there goes love passing from her to him. There goes appreciation. Did you see it? There were 16 grams of it. Because we can't do that. They're intangible needs. And when we think about intangible needs, we have this root belief oftentimes that our intangible needs are met by others outside of us. And when you get married with these beliefs, you get a long-term relationship, you believe that your partner should provide them. And when they don't, let me give you a hint, they can't, you end up feeling like, hey, I'm being stiffed. This person is holding back. And so then you start to wonder, did I marry the wrong person? Did I choose the wrong partner? And this is the context of the people I'm talking to in this video. It's the people who are just feeling a lack of relationship and concluding that maybe they married the wrong partner because their needs are not met. And so to get clarity about this, the very first thing a man needs to do, not that women don't need to do this, but we help men in our community. I'm a men's mentor, and so I'm speaking to the men. This very first thing we need to do is to learn first how to begin to identify what these intangible needs that are unmet are. And then we show men how to learn to meet them themselves. Most men's minds are blown to learn. You mean I can own all that stuff? I don't have to get that from others? Yes, you don't have to get it from others. It's one of the greatest kind of hidden but not so hidden secrets on the planet is that we don't have any intangible need that comes from outside of us. None. People will love to argue this with us. People try this all the time, but we could point you to, including myself, tons of men who live in a place and in a way that they self-source their intangible needs. Now, a beautiful thing happens when you self-source your intangible needs is all of the judgment goes away for the people that you were looking to meet those needs. You see, our judgment was all based on our dependency. So if I bestow on my wife the responsibility to meet my need, and remember it's a need, so it's important, then what I end up doing in my day-to-day life is I scrutinize their actions and behavior. This is what the brain does. Our brain tracks our dependencies because they're part of our security, and our brain is an organ dedicated to keeping us safe and making sure it strategizes to keep us breathing, to keep us healthy, to keep us comfortable. And so if I have all these dependencies scattered to all these people, my brain will manage that kind of under this strategy of what do I got to do to keep the stuff coming from that person. And so this becomes the source of so much of our relationship struggle, because when the person walks in the room who is owning some collection of your needs and their face is a little, tortured, your brain says, oh no, what's wrong? And maybe you think you're just being an empath, or maybe you think you're being intuitive. What you're being is insecure, actually. You're experiencing your brain's insecurity that someone who holds the keys to some part of your well-being, there's something wrong with them. And now you have to go into a mode of fixing it. You have to go into a risk management strategy. Make sure that we make her happy. Because if she's not happy, my needs will not come to me. This accounts for most of what in this stage of a relationship is troubling you. You give so much energy to managing your dependency and the people that you have those dependencies on. And when they fail to meet your expectations of how they should be delivering on what you depend upon them for, you judge them. And that judgment creates disconnection. And that disconnection creates friction and distance and coldness. This is often the root cause of why a partner might say they want space. A partner might say, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Why somebody might move into another relationship outside of the marriage, because this starts to build a growing sense of distance, right? Judging someone is distancing. Who do you judge that you're close to? Who judges you that you're close to? And so this is exactly what happens in marriage. And so before you conclude you have the wrong partner, it's tremendously important to identify these dependencies, identify your insecurities, identify all these expectations you have on a partner and how they should be providing for your needs, and address them. This is a major pillar of building a very stable, long-lasting, deeply connected, thriving, and passionate marriage. You must learn to be a whole human being, a human being with well-being, with happiness that is created within you first. And so I would encourage any man suffering with this to learn to be that guy first. It doesn't mean that you might not still have a partner who has big time issues. I'm not suggesting that that's not the case. Just that in order to have the clarity to know, you need to be whole first. You need to be self-reliant in these areas of these intangible needs, so that you know, am I coming to this conclusion because of dependency and judgment, or because there's really an issue here? And we find that about 8.5 to 9 times out of 10, this is actually what is troubling men, that men are actually creating the disconnection through this process of judging and comparing their spouse against this idealized version. And all of that is born out of this deep sense of insecurity and, quite frankly, a lack of maturity. And I mean that in a nice way. The maturity that's lacking is the lack of self-reliance for meeting these intangible needs. And so the bulk of our work in the Mentor Men community is helping men to grow from a place of dependency to self-reliance, so that they start learning and mastering how to meet their own needs, how to be emotionally resilient as a man, how not to take a partner's facial expressions and words and actions personally, and how to be okay in all those circumstances. And when you're that man and then you look at this question, did I marry the wrong person? Are there red flags? You can see clearly. And you know yourself, you're whole, and you know your value system, and you know what all of that means about the person you're married to. Now, a guy that chooses to end a marriage from there is not ending a marriage because he has unmet needs. It's not because he's hurt. It's not because he has hard emotions. It's because he's headed in a direction that impassions him, that he's excited about, that he's thrilled about. And he loves himself and he loves his partner. And despite all that, recognizes this is not a good fit. It's not good for her. It's not good for me. That's a great place, if you're going to end a marriage, to end a marriage. To end a marriage from a place of wholeness, not brokenness, not from a place of being deeply hurt, deeply victimized, in despair, and feeling like you haven't received what you were supposed to receive. Now, we've unpacked a lot of difficult things, and in just a little bit of it as well, because this is a complicated thing to understand. We usually have to spend some time kind of, in a more step-by-step careful approach, helping men to understand what's going on here. And so I'm not trying to answer the whole thing in one video, but I want to create some curiosity for you and something to think about, to see maybe this is you. Maybe you actually just have judged your partner. Maybe you're struggling from dependency. And maybe you want to take a look at that before you've concluded that you're with the wrong woman. Learn to be a whole, healthy, vigorous, happy man on your own, despite your marriage. If you can't do that, if you're saying there's no way I can do that because you're absolutely stuck with dependency. If there's any if there's any blame that is in your psyche about why you're not living the life you're living, you have room to grow, and you should grow that way before you make a decision that you have the wrong partner. It doesn't mean you don't have the wrong partner. It just means get that sorted out first. And then once you've done that, you'll have the clarity you need to take the next step, figure out what tomorrow looks like, figure out what marriage looks like, and more. Now, if you want to talk further about these things, I would love to have a one-on-one call with you, or you could set one up with another mentor in my community. If you look in the description below, you'll find links to schedule that. You're going to fill out a form. It's going to take 7 to 8 minutes. We're just going to ask enough questions to get a sense of what's going on in your life, a little bit about your context, and then we'll set up a call with you from 60 to 90 minutes. It's complimentary. There's no strings attached. There's no sales pitch. It's just an offer to get to know you a little bit further and to find out more about what's working and not working for you. You can start that by clicking below. And with that, I'll wish you a good afternoon, and I hope that you find the answers that you need in figuring out if you have the right partner. And until then, I'll talk to you soon. Take care.